Hey, what up, guys? This is Pulsation 6 Toxicity, and I'm here today with Alec the Sens fan. If you guys want to subscribe to his channel, go right ahead. I wouldn't recommend that you subscribe to mine because this is like one of the rare videos that I ever make that I'm putting on here. So, you can, but I'm not really going to be producing anything. I think I made like a short film a while ago that I put on there other than this, but that's really all that. So let's talk about exactly what we're going to be doing today. What we decided is that I went on a Toronto trip a couple weeks back where I was able to pitch some film and TV scripts to some execs. And during that time, I was reading this wonderful, gruesome little series, Doubt by Yoshiki Tonagai. And it's kind of a locked room thriller series that spans for about 20 chapters and is done. So it's kind of like a quick drink of water, but you still get a pretty awesome story out of it. And so ever since I started reading them, I kept on wanting to say, hey man, I really want to watch Saw now because it's all part of the same genre and it still captures the same essence.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing is that we're actually going to be doing a Saw film countdown as well as review. So we'll be going like one per one, saying, "Oh yeah, like which one do you hate the most?" Moving initially to number one favorite and giving reasons as to why those ones we particularly enjoy. So now I'll take it over to my good friend Alec here, and I'll ask you, Alec, what do you like the most about the Saw series?
I find it's really different and it's got a really good story to it, Like, I find it's really real, too. Like, it really shows, like, it kind of relieves frustration, too. Like, you see people around the world and you see, like, yeah, like people that take their life for granted, you see that around and you actually see that in a movie now and you actually get to see people tested for that. And it's really cool that way. And I really do like to see that, yeah. So, what do you like about the Saw films? What do you think is really interesting about them?
Um, for me, I do enjoy the locked room thriller, and the fact that we always seem to get a twist at
Yeah.
the end is obviously really
Yeah.
nice for filmmaking because you're not left with like some dry ending like in oh sorry Star Wars Episode 6 Ewoks dancing around like it's a party of 1992. Sorry, that just didn't do it for me. I like coming out of a movie and then feeling like, oh, I saw something that was worth it from beginning to the end.
Yeah,
And sure,
exactly.
maybe the
Yeah.
middle is, you're trying to build some puzzle pieces there, but that's also what makes the series really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so we kind of start off. I like to describe the movie. It had several phases to start off. Obviously, the first one was written by co-creator Leigh Whannell, as well as directed by the co-creator James Wan. Leigh Whannell stayed on for two more of the films. He stayed on for Saws 2 and 3, continued to write, so he basically did his trilogy. So I think you consider 1 through 3 the Leigh Whannell trilogy, and I think that's what we're going to call it. Well, that or the John Kramer trilogy, but I
Yeah.
prefer to call it the Leigh Whannell trilogy.
Yeah.
Um, After that, from 4 and moving forward all the way to Saw 3D, or Saw 7 as it's also probably most people will refer to it, that one had been taken over by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dustan. Those two had a really cool approach because they decided to write the Saw films as if they're doing a cop drama. So, um, the A plot, and we'll kind of address the films in this way for the foreseeable future. So, the A plot is really everything that involves the John Kramer story, the Jill Tuck story, the Mark Hoffman story, the Amanda Young, Lawrence Gordon, anything. Anything that has to do with like all the reoccurring characters. That's the A plot. The B plot is usually when they put in like some of the more minor characters, like the Britt Steddison, the Bobby Dagan, the William Eastons, all those guys that basically only stick in for the one movie and they get put through the ringer of Saw games through that movie. Those are going to be the B plots. So that's how we're really going to that's how we're going to talk about this review through the foreseeable video.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really interesting that they moved on with Dustin and Melton, and it was a cop drama, and that way it was kind of like every movie felt like it was written like a TV show because yes, they were written within the span of a year and filmed within a year. So they obviously really had to get the juice is going like Mad Lux just to be able to pop out a movie for every Halloween, consistently per year. So yeah, I think that's what's really stands out about the movie series is that it does come off more and more as like what could have been a cool TV series. And quite frankly, if they actually would have made like a serialized 1 hour Saw TV series, even got like one season of 12 episodes, it probably would have looked almost similar to what we have with the films. And honestly, if they decided to make a Saw TV show like that, hey, I think me and this guy, we'd be down.
Yeah, by all means, by all means. I'd love to see more Saw. I mean, like, there's an 8th movie coming out. I can't wait for that. You know, you can't get enough Saw, and that's one of the best things about Saw is that the games never end, like we were talking about today. You know, and that's one of the best things about Saw, for sure. So, we're gonna go on with okay, Earl, what would be your sixth favorite Saw film, or sorry, what was your least favorite Saw film? Sorry.
Perfect. So Alec, my least favorite Saw film, and to kick us off, is probably Saw 5.
Yeah,
Saw
I'd agree.
Saw 5 for me was a week in terms of directing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, David Hackle, and David Hackle was originally the production designer for the first 4 films. So that's what he had used to do, and after Darren Lynn Bousman had quit from doing Saws 2 to 4, he decided to take over and he continued the series. So, on my opinion, it was weak directing and weak editing choices. I know Kevin Gruchert, I believe,
Gruchert,
yeah, I believe that's his name. He stayed on as the editor, but it was even in the director's cut, because that's the source that I was kind of watching over this past weekend. That's what I used to refer to, and to refresh my memory so I can make up some fairly good arguments here, is that one of the scenes, instead of actually doing an effect for smoke that was coming off of a dead corpse, they basically just added on as an effect with, you know, say for Final Cut or for Premiere Pro, whichever editing source they were using.
Final Cut's good.
Yeah, but yeah, it did look very, very weak, and it looked cheaply made.
Yeah.
So moving on to kind of like the story basis, the story was a little unsatisfactory for me. The B plot wasn't that bad, so the fact that they went in and it kind of was a lot more of a locked room thriller where every single one of those minor characters had their own wills were being tested. It's not like someone where, oh yeah, they're stuck there and they have to wait for someone else to kind of help them out of the traps. I think that was something that we end up seeing through a lot of some of the various in-between films. So kind of the first, the second, and the fifth one, they really had something where the victims, they all had an equal and fair chance to save themselves. However, in 3, 4, 6, and 7, a lot of these guys are just waiting for this other dude to play out his game, and they're just victims to help, you know, him realize his main goal. And if they died along the way, well, oh, sorry, it wasn't necessarily, you know, it wasn't Jigsaw's or whoever the heck was impersonating Jigsaw's fault. So yeah, that was a little more refreshing. The B plot was really good. The A plot was kind of disappointing. We went from Saw 4, which to me had a very, very fun A plot. Yeah. And it also featured one of the lead actors for that movie, which became Scott Patterson, who played the Special Agent Peter Strom. And it was probably because noticing how much of a strong performance he had for Saw 4, they brought him back in Saw 5, let him play lead. That's how he was written in, and they tried to make advantage. Problem was, he didn't have a lot of dialogue in the movie, so you really didn't get to see a lot of his great acting skills portrayed as much as it was like the director telling him, okay, so move there, then move here, then just continue to move on and look through some of the evidence. Yeah. A lot of it was that. And in between, you know, you got, oh yeah, I kind of wrecked up my throat, so I can't really act properly.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a lot of that, and that also made his performance that much weaker.
Yeah.
And especially coming from a very strong actor, Alec, I would
exactly.
say.
No, he's a very good actor. Yeah, like as you see him in Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Which please don't ask how I know that.
I think it's got a cult following, I'll just say that, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was, Scott Patterson, a very, very powerful actor, but when you had him in that movie, in Saw 5, it wasn't his best performance, and I don't want to necessarily blame it on David Hackle's fault, but I think it was partially due from the script.
Yeah.
It didn't make the character very strong because they killed off his buddy character, right? And in a lot of really good scripts, you have to have your protagonist, he has to have this other character which he can converse, talk about his thoughts, his feelings. But since he was going it alone through most of the movie, we never really got to see that.
Yeah.
And you're almost like thinking, oh, isn't it really necessary? Because we would have heard poor Scott having like a raspy voice through most of the dialogue as well.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But the one thing that for me really, really puts Saw 5 at the bottom of this list is actually the lackluster finish. The ending out of all of them, especially for the log line, which was you'll never believe how it ends. It actually wasn't a twist ending. By all means, it was just, oh yeah, get into this box and listen to the rest of this tape, and then you'll find out how you were supposed to save yourself, which was just, oh, wait in here and underworlds are going to crush down. Yeah. So it was disappointing in the sense that most of the Saw viral messages through the series are kind of cryptic.
Yeah,
they leave
exactly.
a hint on how you can win it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But this one, they just flat up told you, yeah, just stay there. It's going to hurt a little bit, but you'll make it out alive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't, well, this is what happens. So he tells them all the ramifications, all the repercussions of what's going to happen if he doesn't get into the final box, which for me is actually the most disappointing trap in the entire series.
Yeah, exactly.
So anything you want to say about Saw 5, Alec?
I think it was Saw 5. Well, I didn't really think the story was all that great. Yeah, I'd have to agree. The ending kind of sucked too. I mean, like, you know, like you said, you know, about the whole trap box thing. I think that could have been placed better, and I really think they could have had Strom's character in Saw 5 a little more important, because, like you said, like the whole, like, my voice is so bad that I can't even do anything now. It's like, well, okay, that doesn't make sense. I mean, like, he's still a good character. They still could have had a lot with him, and he had a lot of potential as character. And I think he could have been in more Saw films if it wasn't for that ending. So that's my opinion on Saw 5.
Perfect. So did you want to move on to the next one, Alec?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. All right, Earl, what is your sixth favorite Saw film?
My sixth favorite, or my second least favorite, if you also want to put it that way.
Yeah.
I will have to say it's going to be Saw 3D for me. For the basis is that, number one, the B plot didn't tie in to the A plot at all, and for most of the Saw films, that happened to be the case. Saw 5 didn't do a very good job at doing it, unfortunately. Saw 6 did an okay job because they really made their William Easton character kind of like tie into John Kramer very well, and it was a direct thing. It's like saying, I wanted to apply to get insurance so I could actually get this tumor operated. We can try to do something, you know, the 30-40% success rate.
Yeah, exactly.
But he ended up cutting him down, and so that gave Kramer a lot of motive to say, like, yeah, I really want to put this guy through the ringer, because essentially he gave me a death wish and I know what he's doing, which I think for John Kramer it was more important. The victims that he picked were doing things that were really were socially negative, right? So there was kind of I don't want to say this ladder effect, but there was, you know, this anvil effect that whatever they did kind of fell on for worse for the rest of humanity, and that's why he always chose these people for his ringers. So we talked about the B plot. The A plot for Saw 7 was very, very unsatisfactory as well, except for maybe the ending, which I thought was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. They tied it in. It's like we finally get to find out what happens to good old Dr. Lawrence Gordon, who is one of the most iconic characters in the series for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like from the first film. As you know, Dr. Gordon from the first film makes his return in the seventh, yes.
Mm-hmm. So other than the ending, which was pretty okay, like I said, I really don't want to say anything about the acting. I really don't feel it's my place, being as someone who considers himself like an actor, and I'm not equitized yet compared to some of those other guys on there. Yeah. So I'm not going to take anything away. However, I will say that maybe some of the lines or some of the actions in which the characters had to perform weren't completely well, I don't think it was a tremendously well driven A plot or a B plot. Uh, I didn't like some of the traps on that one. They seemed really lazy. I
Yeah.
hate to admit it, but first off, anyone can stick a fish hook down someone's throat. It doesn't take that much creativity, in my opinion. Same thing with putting someone in a furnace. What is it? Sticking, like hooks in your pectoral muscles. Like it's not super original. Like we went from Leia Whannell's fantastic but yet gruesome imagination for the first three, and yeah, some of the other, later Melton and Dunstan traps. Some of them were cool.
Yeah, like the like for example, like the Venus flytrap and the reverse bear trap. You know, those are really creative designs, and you could have like they had a lot of
Unfortunately from Whannell though, but that's opposed to the point. But
Yes,
nevertheless,
yes, no,
nevertheless,
true. It's true, no, true.
um,